I think this is an absolutely terrible patch. Wave got done dirty. She is no longer going to be useful in any kind of Death Wave or Doom Wave deck. Her interactions with Death and She-Hulk and all other types of cards like that, which would include Sarah or Zabu or the way that Stature works or Miles work, completely gone. They gave her the leader treatment. Also, they are not dropping DARKHAWK and KNULL from Series 4 to Series 3. They are going to have a selective system, which I think is also terrible. Basically, if a card is selling for collector tokens, they're not going to drop it down from Series 5 to Series 4 and from Series 4 to Series 3. They're just going to drop cards that aren't selling, is the way that I interpret it. There's some other buffs. We're going to go over all of it. I want to go over the Wave nerf first, and it is pretty drastic. I did make a video about Wave last week, and this blindsided me. I think the reason why they're doing it is that they have future cards that they want to introduce to the game, and Wave is preventing them from making certain cards that they want to introduce. So they're changing it drastically. All cards cost 4 until the end of next turn. So that part of it is just a text change, which we talked about in the last video. Wave cost reduction occurs after other effects that reduce card cost, in addition to text update that clarifies when Wave's effect begins. And this is monstrous. We've also made a rather large adjustment under the hood. Wave will now begin to apply after effects that reduce card costs rather than before. That means She-Hulk, Death will always cost 4. This means that if you have Sarah on the board, it's not going to matter. If you have Zabu on the board, it's not going to matter. Stature, Miles, not going to matter. Will always cost 4 while Wave is in effect. We don't take lightly that this change kills a few decks. Yes, absolutely destroys the Wave archetype. It just does. But Wave has been far too constraining in our ability to use cost reduction as a synergy reward in future designs. Leaning on Wave is just always better than dedicating your deck to the actual synergy. We've seen that with Death since both cards went live, and we'll continue to seeing it without this action. So this is terrible. I mean, I kind of want to give them the benefit of the doubt, but you know, now that I've reread this, I actually goes, oh, maybe this means that, you know, this is going to affect something that's coming out, and this is the reason why I'm doing it. But when I first read this, I was like, this is terrible. This is garbage. Why are they doing this? We'll have to see. Now, they are changing Death from 9/12 to 8/12. And that's mostly because Wave plus Death is not going to be a thing. Now, let's back up a little bit, and we're going to come back and go over all the notes. But I want to go over the things that really were concerning first. And this has to do with the series drop. So the following cards are going from Series 4 to Series 3. Sentry, which does see some play inside of a junk toxic deck. Recently, this was put on my avoid list. Like when I do my top 10 decks, I put also some decks that I'm going to avoid. Decks that I feel are being overplayed without good cube rates and win rates. So I'm not really sure. Now, the toxic decks that I'm referring to, I really enjoyed playing the best, but recently they've kind of not been doing very well. So I don't know. It might be worth trying. I mean, Viper Sentry is a great combo. Silver Surfer, Battle Pass card. One of the best decks in the game right now is a Sarah Surfer. Dazzler doesn't see a lot of play. Shadow King doesn't see a lot of play. Sauron doesn't see a lot of play. Ghost does not see a lot of play. Dropping from Series 5 to 4, Master Mold. The reason why Master Mold doesn't see a lot of play is because he pairs up with Ronan, and at the end of the day, Devil Dino is just a better card than Ronan. Negasonic largely does not see a lot of play, and then Nimrod does see play for sure, but that was also a Battle Pass card. So what is missing, and this is huge, is card staying in Series 4, DARKHAWK, and KNULL. And I don't know, we'll read this, and then I'm going to talk about my personal experience. And I suspect that this game is going to be making changes to the monetary system and card acquisition system that aren't necessarily going to be player friendly. And I'm going to explain why I feel that way in a minute. The next few months are going to be truly epic for Marvel Snap. We have a new mode coming out called Conquest. Marvel Snap on Windows continues to get polished and prepared for its global launch. And lastly, we're dreaming up ways of improving the fun of getting new cards. We've seen a lot of questions and feedback about how we introduce new cards to Marvel Snap. With our next patch on the horizon, we'd like to share some updates about our plans to improve how you can acquire new cards. Our goal, and remember this sentence right here, our goal over the next few months is to find ways to get for more people to get the chance to play with new cards more often. And I believe their goal is not that. Their goal is to push out unplayed bad cards to the community quicker, but the good cards that see a lot of play and that people purchase with tokens are going to be made more scarce. Almost the opposite of what this sentence says. Flexible series release. We've heard many players express that releasing every new card in Series 5 is interfering with their ability to get excited about those releases. We don't want you to feel pressure to wait for series drop in order to enjoy that content, and like you to be able to play with more new cards each month. Our goal is to make new card releases feel exciting, accessible, impactful. Marvel Snap. In our future seasons, we'll be experimenting with releasing more cards directly into Series 4. Like Howard Duck, I may have considered Howard the Duck if he was Series 4. I'm just saying. Starting with 2 cards released to Series 4 in June, we believe releasing some cards at lower token cost will increase accessibility and excitement for new cards released each week. We'll be listening to your feedback to find the right balance between Series 4 versus Series 5 card releases. Now, this is where it's going to get a little controversial. In addition to modifying the release series for some cards, also been taking long at the series drop cadence for cards. Currently, all cards are on the same schedule, starting in Series 5, dropping to Series 4, and eventually Series 3. However, the reality is that not all cards are created equal appealing to players. No kidding. Going forward, we're going to exercise more flexibility in what cards drop series and wins. Sometimes this means preserving the series of a card, as is the case with Thanos and Galactus. Other times this means we may drop a card from Series 5 to Series 3 because we simply want more people to experiment with it. Basically, if people aren't buying the card with collector tokens, they're going to drop it off fast. If the card isn't selling, they're going to drop it. If the card is selling, they're going to hold on to the price. That's the short version of what they're saying. And they actually say it here in a minute, exactly what they're going to do. May even skip a month entirely. May skip a monthly series drop entirely when a meta deck looks fun and healthy. Why? I feel like this is in direct contrast to what they said up here. Find ways for more people to get the chance to play with new cards more often, but we may just skip a drop altogether if we feel like it. What? Right? Oh, we may even skip a month of series drop entirely when the meta looks fun and healthy. Basically, they're going to do whatever they want with the series rotations. It's going to be at complete their discretion. These decisions will be made on a card-by-card basis based on data and player feedback instead of applying a blanket rule to all cards. And this is where they actually say what they're going to do. In our upcoming patch, we're dropping more cards to Series 3 than we ever had before. In addition, some of our more impactful cards are staying at their current series for longer than expected. If the card is good, they're going to keep it at the price. The price will stay high for longer, and the drops will be unpredictable. And so basically, the bad cards are going to drop and the good cards are going to stay, which kind of makes sense in some weird world, but it also makes planning and predicting on what's going to drop, and it's going to be very unpredictable going forward. Cards dropping from Series 4 to 5, or 5 to 4 rather, Master Mold, Negasonic Nimrod. Okay. Cards staying in Series 4. DARKHAWK and KNULL. I think a lot of people were looking for DARKHAWK and KNULL. Now, and I understand why they're doing this, because like if someone said to me, should I spend 3,000 collector tokens on DARKHAWK? I would say, yeah, DARKHAWK right now is one of the most important cards in the meta. And if you want to spend 3,000 collector tokens on DARKHAWK, providing you have Rock Slide, go for it. He's a very playable card. And I feel that way about Stature as well. A lot of, if you want to play Stature Black Bolt, you're going to get value. I mean, the best decks in the game right now are some combination of Black Bolt with Stature and with DARKHAWK and Rock Slide. That is the current meta. Cards staying in Series 4, DARKHAWK, KNULL, Shanna, Stature, Zabu, MODOK. Cards dropping from Series 4 to Series 3, Sentry, Silver Surfer, Dazzler, Shadow King, Sauron, and Ghost. Now, we're going to read some other things here, and I have mixed feelings about the rest of this here. I think some of it's good, but we'll see. In a previous patch, we made a few changes for Series 3 players, then greatly increased their token earn rate, introduced the free seasonal choose your card section. This made new card releases more accessible to these players and ultimately result in more cards being collected. But we've heard feedback that some players would still like to use the flexibility to use tokens for Series 3 cards in addition to choose your card section. We're adding a new way to collect Series 3 cards. In our June patch, we're updating the token chart to include a new section, Series 3 mystery card. So you can get a random Series 3 card for 1,000 tokens. And I would have to do the math on it and decide if that's a good thing or not. I actually can't wrap my head around it, but basically they're going to have a mystery Series 3 card for 1,000 tokens. More ways to earn tokens. And largely these are good, with one of them I feel is very controversial. Over the last couple months, we made adjustments to increase the rate players are able to acquire tokens. We think there are more improvements to be made here. In the next few patches, we'll be introducing a couple more features that will reward more tokens to more players. Our goal is that with these new features increasing the flow of tokens, players will be able to purchase more new cards more frequently. The first of these new features will be weekend missions. And I do like the idea of weekend missions because typically at the beginning of the week, you have something to do. You get through all of your dailies, and then on the weekend, you have nothing to do, right? As far as the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And this will give you a way of having access to more collector tokens. However, the third one right here is kind of a stinker. Win games to earn credits, fine. Win games with season pass card to earn gold. So that right there, if you are a battle pass purchaser, that is good, right? This is an extra bonus for people that purchase the battle pass. If you're free to play and you don't purchase the battle pass, that doesn't help you. Win games with newly released card to earn tokens. So the people that bought Howard the Duck are going to have access to more tokens. So if you spend, you're going to get more rewards, is basically what this system is saying. Each of these reward amounts will vary depending on the difficulty of the mission. There'll be new weekly missions available for each new card release. Weekly missions, new release card is a great way to earn tokens with your new cards, essentially reducing the overall token cost. All right, I want to say this, and you don't have to agree with me on this, but I just want to present to you a situation and a case for why I think Marvel Snap, they talk about making changes to the card acquisition system, and I'm predicting those changes are not going to be in the player's favor. And I'm going to give you my personal experience, and I'm not everybody, but I am somebody that spends money on mobile games. First thing I want to stipulate before I go into this, typical mobile games have two different monetization models. There's the Fortnite model where people buy cosmetics. Largely, this has not been reproduced in a lot of games with high success, that like Fortnite. It's difficult and challenging for developers to have a cosmetic monetization system. The other monetization systems, which I played in a lot of other games I've followed, there is a small group of people, 2, 3, 4, 5% of the population that is funding 80, 85, 95, 90% of the revenue. In most mobile games, a very small group of people are funding the entire game. And I traditionally have been in that category. I'm a dirty whale. Call me whatever you want. I have spent $26,000 on Marvel Strike Force. And I'm telling you today, as someone that is a spender in mobile games, I am able to cruise through Marvel Snap, paying $10 a month on the Battle Pass. I have every card in the game, and the 3 cards in the game that I don't own, I have more than enough collector tokens to purchase them. And there's somebody over there second dinner that's saying, why isn't MobileGamer spending hundreds, if not thousands of dollars a month like he has in other mobile games? They know this. And that at the what's normally funding mobile games, this small group of spenders are not spending money. I'm not spending money unless I was just buying cosmetics, but I don't value cosmetics. So they either have to pivot hard towards cosmetics, or the game is going to become more predatory and more player unfriendly if they're going to pivot towards that other traditional monetization model. And I don't think these changes that they keep talking about that are coming are going to be good in general for the player base. I'm calling it now because there's some bean counter over there that's looking at me or players like me. I'm put in a bucket and they're saying, why aren't these people spending? Because we're not. I don't need to. I can buy the battle pass and I get everything I need. I think the game's monetization system for someone that's willing to buy the battle pass is pretty decent, actually. I think it's great. I like it. I think there are people that think it's unfair, and I get that. But in general, I have no incentive to buy anything. I'm good spending $10 a month, and I think that's great. And it's one of the reasons I level. But there's somebody over there that doesn't like that, is what I'm trying to say. Let's go over the rest of the patch notes. Kitty Pride. This is amazing. Kitty Pride, basically, everybody got Kitty Pride for free. And we're going to be making videos about bounce decks and collector. I'm hearing that it's off the charts good already. So Kitty Pride is in the game. They added some new cosmetic stuff, which I think is nice. You can basically go in game right here and you can change not only the card back and your avatar and your whatever this thing, your title for each deck. So like if this right here is DARKHAWK, or if there's a MODOK deck and you want the other person to know that you're playing MODOK, you could, put right there the MODOK avatar and so on and change it for each deck slot. I think that's okay. I don't know if that was a feature that I was asking for, but I don't think it's bad. All right, so we talked about the series drop. All right, general updates. So this is going to make getting to Infinite easier. The number of cubes required to rank up have decreased from 10 cubes to 7 cubes. And if you look in game right now, you'll see that I have 8 out of 7 cubes. So I haven't played a match. I'm sure when I play a match, it'll pop up to 103. So this is just carryover from the old system. I was at 102.8. And so now going from Infinite, which if you finish the season at Infinite, you're dropped down to 70. So to go from 70 to 80 will not require 100 cubes. Now it'll require 70 cubes. Then the way the system worked before is that you would go from 80 to 85. Now you're going to go from 80 to 83. In my opinion, this is needlessly complicated. The way that the old system was way back in the day, to go from 70 to 100 required 280 cubes. The way the system was yesterday before this patch required 200 cubes. The new system is 168 cubes. Basically 70 cubes to go from 70 to 80, and then to go from 83 to 90 is another 49 cubes, because there's 7 ranks times 7 cubes, 49, and then another 49, 168 cubes. So overall, the number of cubes that is required to go from 70 to 100 has dropped from 200 to 168. So they're cutting down the length of time to get to Infinite. But the system seems overall needlessly complicated. Why did they need to make it 7? I don't understand why they actually wanted me to get my calculator out. Anytime a developer does this, I question their intentions on what are they trying to hide by making it more complicated. It's kind of like when they create a currency, an in-game currency, like, and almost every mobile game does this, where if you go into the shop and you look at the currency, and I can only speak to US dollars, but it's been proven that they do this on purpose, where it's, you know, for $100 you get 8,000 currency instead of 10,000, because they're trying to make it hard to convert the dollars. And the mystery ratio that they figured out is going to be the most confusing and hardest to calculate is usually a multiple of 7 or 8. They're doing it to confuse people. Now, I don't know if that's what they're trying to do here, but it feels that way. We're continuing to make adjustments to rank modes that will improve the overall experience for players. The changes coming with this patch feature some adjustments to the matchmaking algorithm. Okay. An update to the number of cube ranks while progressing the season. Okay. More changes planned for future patches. Okay. A purchase item in the shop, you must now press and hold the button from your purchase to help remove any accidental purchases. Fine. Let's go over card changes. Kitty Pryde now is in the game. She didn't work like when she was busted. Basically, at the beginning of every turn, she returns to your hand. So this means that on turn 6, you have to replay her, right? Which kind of messes up the idea of playing Kitty with a 6-drop. So pretty much if you're going to play Kitty, you're going to have to play a deck without America Chavez, let's say, because there's just negative synergy. So this is going to be, of course, that'll work with Beast and Bounce. And the Beast Bounce decks typically have been running Chavez. I'm pretty sure Chavez will come out and probably Kitty will go in, and then probably Collector will squeeze in there somehow. Crystal, interesting. Crystal was largely unplayed. A lot of people were wanting her to be played. She's now going to be a 4/4 on reveal. Each player draws a card. I'm not sure if that's going to be something that's going to be impactful. We don't want an effect like Crystal be too strong. Snap deck's only 12 cards. We want those cards to play out the same every time. So we're very comfortable letting players draw cards. I agree with that sentiment. Wave, got screwed. Death, an adjustment right here. Then there is a text change to White Queen. She works exactly the same. So that does it for today. One last thing, we're going to talk about Galactus. They did mention Galactus. So people have been asking, will Galactus be changing? The reason he hasn't been changed is that the decks in its cards weren't crossing our NERF thresholds. As a losing deck played by a small number of people doesn't really qualify as oppressive, even it can be frustrating. And I did make a video about Galactus a while ago, and my basic case was that nerfing Galactus because he's annoying wasn't enough for me, and that because the play rates and the win rates were garbage, and that's what he's stating here. But then in the last couple of weeks, the data has changed, which I've seen, and then he acknowledges that. Recently, his consistently remained too popular, even with a weak win percentage. He actually has a pretty good cube rate, and he has a very high play rate right now. So we're exploring potential adjustments. However, he is not a simple card to change. And from a design perspective, from a technological, we would rather make no change than one that accidentally makes him either stronger or unplayable. So we're exercising diligence to figure out the best course. And so what that means to me is that like they looked at DARKHAWK, and they didn't really know how to nerf DARKHAWK, but they wanted to make an adjustment to DARKHAWK. So they looked at Rock Slide. Rock Slide is played almost exclusively inside of DARKHAWK decks. And one card, there's a couple cards that are played in Galactus decks, but one of those cards that is exclusively, almost exclusively played inside of a Galactus deck is DARKHAWK. Maybe this means they're going to do something like that. I know a lot of people said, well, they should do something to Spider-Man. That's pretty annoying. But Spider-Man's played in other decks. So my prediction is that if they want to make a change to Galactus, like the play rates and the win rates and the cube rates continue to be high like they've been in the last couple of weeks, and that largely has to do with the Leech nerf has allowed Galactus to thrive a bit more. I suspect they're going to go and isolate one of the cards that surrounds Galactus if they don't want to impact Galactus. one of the things that people have been talking about is moving DARKHAWK up to a 6 cost. And the reason why DARKHAWK is so effective in Galactus decks is because, yeah, there's a lot of counters to Galactus, blah, blah, blah. Everybody knows the counters to Galactus, but what good are they if they're stripped out of your hand the turn before Galactus is played by DARKHAWK? So just keep that in mind. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments section. And as always, thanks for watching. Keep on gaming. Bye for now.